should we interpret your comments just now that you are likely to choose a moderate nominee? Would you consider?
No.
Okay.
I don't know where you found that. You shouldn't assume anything about the qualifications of the nominee, other than they're going to be well qualified.
All right.
Okay.
Following up,
Yes.
would you consider a recess appointment if your nominee is not granted a hearing?
I think that we have more than enough time to go through regular order, regular processes. I intend to nominate somebody, to present them to the American people, to present them to the Senate. I expect them to hold hearings. I expect there to be a vote.
That means no recess
Full
appointment.
stop.
And lastly, as long as we're doing this in a row, how do you respond to Republican criticism that your position is undercut by the fact that you and other members of your administration who were in the Senate at the time tried to filibuster Judge Alito in 2006?
You know, look, I think what's fair to say is that how judicial nominations have evolved over time is not historically the fault of any single party. This has become just one more extension of politics. And there are times where folks are in the Senate and they're thinking, as I just described, primarily about, is this going to cause me problems in a primary? Is this going to cause me problems with supporters of mine? And so people take strategic decisions. I understand that. But what is also true is Justice Alito is on the bench right now. I think that historically, if you look at it, regardless of what votes particular senators have taken, there's been a basic consensus, a basic understanding that the Supreme Court's different. And each caucus may decide who's going to vote where and what, but that basically you let the vote come up and you make sure that a well-qualified candidate is able to join the bench, even if you don't particularly agree with them. And my expectation is that the same should happen here. Now, this will be a test, one more test, of whether or not norms, rules, basic fair play can function at all in Washington these days. But I do want to point out, this is not just the Supreme Court. I mean, we have consistently seen just a breakdown in the basic functions of government because the Senate will not confirm well-qualified nominees, even when they're voted out of committee, which means that they're voted by both parties without objection. And we still have problems because there's a certain mindset that says we're just going to grind the system down to a halt. And if we don't like the president, then we're just not going to let him make any appointments. We're going to make it tougher for the administration to do their basic job. We're going to make sure that ambassadors aren't seated, even though these are critical countries and that may have an effect on our international relations. We're going to make sure that judges aren't confirmed, despite the fact that Justice Roberts himself has pointed out there's emergencies in courts around the country because there are just not enough judges and there are too many cases and the system's breaking down. So this has become a habit and it gets worse and worse each year. And it's not something that I have spent a huge amount of time talking about because frankly the American people on average, they're more interested in gas prices and wages and issues that touch on their day-to-day lives in a more direct way. So it doesn't get a lot of political attention. But this is the Supreme Court. And it's going to get some attention. And we have to ask ourselves as a society a fundamental question, are we able to still make this democracy work the way it's supposed to, the way our founders envisioned it? And I would challenge anyone who purports to be adhering to the original intent of the founders Anybody who believes in the Constitution coming up with a plausible rationale as to why they would not even have a hearing for a nominee made in accordance with the Constitution by the President of the United States, with a year left practically in office. It's pretty hard to find that in the Constitution. All right, you've gotten at least you've gotten 4 now, Jeff.